Discourse. I'm Tyler Frater alongside Richard A. the Cruz.
Hello.
And Chief Engineer Lieutenant Commander Connor Frater.
Good evening.
It is Monday, September 1st, 2025. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us youtube.com/gaming discourse, patreon.com/the gaming discourse. You can support us for $247, $10. Get your name in the video credits, early access to our videos, access to our Discord server, and more. Connor's remoting in. We've got Richard back from the adventure, and he's returned to talk about video games with us. We've got news. We've got games. Richard.
Yeah.
Since you've been back. Since you've been back. Have you been playing video games?
The only thing I played of note, because I've just been kind of replaying things that I've already been playing because I had to fill time up instead of actually enjoying stuff. The only thing I did play that was new was I played the demo for Shinobi Art of Vengeance. I think that's what it's called.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, it just came out. So
is that a side scroller?
It is a side scroller.
Yeah, okay.
It's a new entry in the Shinobi series, which they haven't had an entry in since like 2014, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Wow. And it was on the 3DS, but this one is made by the team that did Streets of Rage 4.
Okay.
Which was already interesting enough. Or Streets of Rage 4 was very, very, very good, but them doing Shinobi was definitely something to be interested in. And I'm not going to talk much about it because once it's just a demo, but I would probably say I don't even think halfway throughout the demo I quit out of it because I immediately decided that I needed to buy it on day one.
Nice. Okay.
Because
gotcha.
it was so good, and it is whatever these guys. I can't remember the developer name. I'll look it up later, but they know how a game should feel, particularly with Streets of Rage, and now again with Shinobi. Shinobi, Joe Hisashi is the main character, and he has weight to him, which obviously feels good, but you're also light as a feather in the same vein, which makes for some it feels like you're in complete control the entire time, much like a action game like, well, you never played Devil May Cry, right?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, you have played? Okay, so much like Devil May Cry, or maybe even to a lesser extent like Nier Automata or Stellar Blade. Like you feel like you have control of your character, and whatever you press your button to do, the character is going to do it just immediately. Because
so there's not a whole lot of. So they don't have a whole lot of like momentum, or
there's lots of momentum, but what I mean is that I think that the way the game feels, there's a lot less room for mistakes.
Okay.
So like in Castlevania, although they're kind of slightly different genres, Castlevania, you can make mistakes. You jump too far one way, you don't correct your swing, for the frames to be. But with this one, the moves you have and what you can do, it all feels very precise. I'll just say precise.
Okay.
But I am very excited to play it whenever I get to it. But unfortunately, what is it, September 1st?
Yes.
I still have not played any of the Game of the Year nominees for this year. I have Player Obscure staring at me. I really want to play Shinobi, and obviously, Silksong comes out in 3 days.
It does. Yeah, it does.
For $20.
I know, that's insane. Yeah.
That's not to talk about stuff I have to do just outside of life.
Sure.
And it's like, what am I gonna do here? So, yeah, the voice acting is very good. The visuals are jaw-droppingly good. They're stunning because they're all hand animated.
Okay.
So they're all hand drawn and everything. And the backgrounds are stupid gorgeous because they have this. You're a ninja, and so it's very historical Japanese.
Okay.
Style. Think of Ghost of Tsushima and whatnot, but you do at times have very obvious futuristic cities in there and stuff like in the background and whatnot. So it's very, very cool. I'm super stoked to play it, but yeah, once again, like I said, it was a demo. I got halfway through it and I was like, I've seen enough. I gotta
experience that before, definitely. Connor, what are you playing?
I have been continuing playing a lot of Age of Mythology, and I picked up the Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition or Anniversary Edition, and been playing a lot of that too.
It's funny that this is just a random obsession that came out of nowhere, and you're like, well, I guess I'll just play through the Age of Mythology and Age of Empires games again.
It didn't come out of nowhere. There's a little tournament at work.
Oh, that's right.
That I placed last in, and I was like, God, I miss these games.
How that's go? How is so? Tell us about what are you doing in them? What empires are you playing?
I have been relearning how to play them because it's been, I don't know, 10 years since I've played an Age of Empires game. So I've been just relearning how to play like the strategies for like opening moves with like your villagers, and like whether or not sending them to the berry bushes, or if you have a boar nearby to your town center, sending them to the boar, stuff like that. Just like getting back into the groove of getting good at the game.
So is that in which one is that in?
Age of Empires 2, the Definitive Edition.
And what do you think would be, because I've never played it. Well, I think I've played Age of Empires, but like in passing, like I've never actually sat down and talked with it, if that makes sense. What do you think is the best one?
I would say probably Age of Mythology is the easiest one to play. It's very modern, not just in its design, but in its presentation of how like it displays information. Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition is just not even really a remaster of Age of Empires 2, which came out, forever and a half ago, but just a slight graphical update, making it compatible with modern versions and putting out new content for it.
Okay, cool. And you're playing that on PC?
Yes.
Alrighty, awesome. Okay, so what have I... So yeah, I played a little bit of Metal Gear Solid Delta, which I kind of wanted to have a tandem discussion, which we can do now, about Metal Gear Solid and as well as like Delta.
Is there anything else you're playing?
Because
it'd probably be better to talk about those before we go into Metal Gear.
You know what? I drive the boat.
That's true.
And I'm just kidding. No, it's fine. So I'm still playing Death Stranding 2 a little bit.
Okay.
I'm just not interested. Like, I don't, you haven't heard my updates on Death Stranding 2.
No, I haven't. But I mean, anytime you have talked about it, it hasn't seemed to be.
I just don't think it's as interesting as the first one.
Yeah.
The first one was good in a lot of fascinating ways, and it was also bad in a lot of fascinating ways. This one's just boring. I don't know. I have trouble caring about the characters. I have trouble caring about anything. I have trouble caring about the mystery. I won't spoil anything, but there's a big chunk of the story involves a character's origin. This is huge mystery, but I just don't care. And it's just dragging on. And I don't know, maybe I'm like strange or weird. Maybe everyone else that played it is like enthralled, but I just can't. I don't know. It's just not interesting to me. I've said this a billion times. I feel like the gameplay wants to facilitate more combat. You get lots of things that are useful to use in combat, but what made the first game... What I enjoyed about the first game was not the combat, it was the delivery system. And so I wanted them to expand on the delivery system. Mm-hmm. I could care less about getting more guns and more types of bombs and stuff like that. Instead, it's like, give me a more robust delivery system. Give me deliveries to make that are more challenging. There was one delivery I made where I had to climb up a mountain. And so to get up there... it was snowing, so I brought a bunch of container repair spray, and the thing that I had to carry was super heavy, so I put it on one of those carrying things that Sam just drags behind him.
Oh, right.
And so as I was climbing up this mountain, every now and then I would turn around and spray it, and I went through like 4 of those because it was snowing, and snow timefall is like more intense or whatever. So, and I had to drink water a bunch because you're climbing up this mountain. So Sam is exhausted and I'm trying. So it's really that like 30 minutes of gameplay was really cool because I was really making a delivery, or where I had to manage my resources. I had to manage Sam's stamina. It was survival. And that was neat. But the rest of the game is just, you have to go over here. So I just drive over there and do the thing. And there's no real challenge. There's no real threat. And in the first game, I was like, it was like, okay, it's not perfect. But I think the first game did a better job funneling you through BTs. I think the first game was more challenging. I think the first game had more varied terrain in some sense. Like in Death Stranding 2, there are more biomes. Like there is a desert, and there are like a canyon area where it's like it's very canaverous. That's not a word. It's like cavernous, yeah, and stuff like that. So it's that. I guess that makes it more tricky to get through. I guess, but it's not like the geography is designed in such a way that I have to go about getting through it differently or plan around it. I can still just drive through it. So I don't know. Yeah, I just I want to get through to the deliveries, and I want to finish it just so I can say that I have finished it. And I feel like I need to because I'm invested with Sam's story and I want to see what happens. But a lot of the characters that have been introduced, like I said, I just don't care. There's a character named Rainy who all the characters have a gimmick about them. They all have something that makes them special. So like Rainy, it's always raining, but she's immune to timefall. So she can stand out in timefall. She doesn't age, but it's always raining above her for some reason. So that's Rainy. And she has a story with her. There's Tomorrow, who you meet later on. And Tomorrow, when she grabs things, they rot in her hands. She when she touches things, it's like King Midas, I guess.
She's like the embodiment of timefall, maybe?
Yeah, it hasn't really explained it. But so it's like that's her little gimmick, and she can fight in different ways. But I don't know, you never, with all these different characters, you only get to know them in cutscenes, many of which are like awkward and not that great. And I don't know, I kind of feel like if you're going to deliver all these characters and stuff, why not, I don't know, why not do it the Red Dead way, where, give me a quest where I drive a car and Tomorrow gets in the car with me and we have a conversation, something like that. Give me a quest where Rainy wants to go pick flowers, so you have to carry her out to a flower patch somewhere and she can pick something where it involves the characters, where you get to spend time with these characters. Instead, they're on a thing called the DHV Magellan, which is a submarine thing. The concept is cool. You've seen it in the first game. I don't know if you remember it, but Sam and Fragile in the first game, they go on a boat and it takes Sam across the Tar Ocean. Well, that boat looks very similar to the DHV Magellan, and that's sort of your hub. You can actually spawn this ship around the map in different places, and it carries resources. It has a garage on it. That's where Sam's private room is. So it's a submarine because it goes into the tar currents, because in Death Stranding there's tar under the surface. So the ship goes into the tar currents, travels that, and then submerges, and it's on land. So the story sort of funnels you into the DHV Magellan. And the first thing that's weird is every character always calls it the DHV Magellan, right?
Okay.
Right? It like in Star Trek, it's I'm captain of the USS Enterprise, and then when Riker is talking to Picard, it's I'm aboard the Enterprise.
Yeah.
They drop the
right, because they understand where they're at.
Yes. Yeah. I'm on board the Enterprise. But in Death Stranding 2, every time the ship is mentioned, I need you back aboard the DHV Magellan. We have to go to the DHV Magellan. Sam, I think you should return to the DHV Magellan. It's just very corny and weird. I don't know why it's written like that. That's a nitpick though. But the story funnels you when you complete an important delivery. It's like, okay, go back to the DHV Magellan, and you go and a cutscene happens, and it's just a little character moment or something, which is fine. But I don't know. I feel like it's a sidestep, right? We've had this conversation about sequels, where some sequels are like, they take the original ideas of the first game, they expand upon it, and it's like better, and that's like a step up, right?
Yeah.
other sequels are just a move to the side, a parallel move.
Sure.
Where it's basically the same thing. There's some new stuff, but the paradigm hasn't shifted all that much. And that's what I feel like Death Stranding 2 is. There's more combat, which I've said, but again, it's like the whole idea in Death Stranding was that you had to avoid combat. If you killed somebody, you had to go incinerate their body because their body would blow up and it would be game over. So it's like combat was not something you wanted to do. So in this one, there's more combat, but it's like, well, I didn't feel that was an issue with the first game. So yeah, and the villain, Higgs is back as the villain, and it's just like, I don't know what his problem is, and I just don't care. I don't know. It's just and it feels like it's dragging on, and yeah, I don't like, there's a guy named Dollman who is a man whose soul is trapped in a doll.
Yeah.
And so Sam carries Dollman around with you. And Dollman is there to constantly tell you what is on the screen. And it's very annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Sam, do you see that bad It's like, yes, Dollman, I can see that, dude. Or it's like, Sam, you can complete another order with Dollman. I know I can complete orders, dude. There was a mission I just did where I had to go investigate an area. This was something that was completely different, which I enjoyed when I found it. But I had to go investigate an area, and it was like, okay, there was a crash here. So in order for this mystery to progress, I had to recreate the conditions of the crash, which were obvious. It was, I have to be here in a tri-rotor, which is a motorcycle, at night. That's all I had to do. I had to drive over here in a tri-rotor at night. Easy. Yeah. So as I'm like walking around looking, Dollman's like, broken tri-rotors. What should we do here? And something about night. Sam, I know. We come back in a tri-rotor at night. I'm like, Dollman, I put that together 4 hours ago, dude. So anyway, it's just, Dollman is like a crutch where the game is constantly being explained to you.
It's hand holding.
And it's very much, and that's something that I am wary of, like, saying all of Kojima's games are like he is the sole author of them all. So we can have that discussion. But it's the same thing in like Metal Gear Solid 5. Ocelot is just explaining things to you all the time. You're just getting things explained to you. And in Delta, Metal Gear Solid 3 was like that too. But I don't know. The different characters had different personalities and stuff like that.
It was explained when you needed.
Yes, and then it was, and it could be helpful tips. Yeah. And it wasn't, if you didn't call, you weren't going to get that tip.
Right. Yes.
So it was like, maybe I can call the colonel here. And he's like, watch out for this, Snake. And you're like, oh, cool. He gave me a tip that I can use.
He didn't have the British accent.
Sorry. I was basing that on the first MGS. Okay. And MGS2. Thank you very much. No. So anyway, that's this week's complaint about Death Stranding 2. It's too bad because I feel like the cast is cool. I want to see Norman Reedus like be able to express things in Sam, but I just don't feel like the script has given him enough like room to do that, if that makes sense. But anyway, okay, so I'll play the ad and then we'll do our Metal Gear Solid conversation. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah, I'm fine with
that. Is that okay with you, Richard? Since you just wanted...
Jesus Christ,
I'm just kidding. Thanks for listening. If you like our content, please consider subscribing or leaving a like and comment. You can find us at patreon.com/thegamingdiscourse. And our tiers are $2, $4, $7, and $10 and include getting your name in the video credits, early access, and access to our Discord server. Okay, so yeah, I've also been playing a little bit of MGS Delta. Jason Schreier had a story in Bloomberg about a little behind the scenes about like some of their what Konami did for the remake and stuff like that. And I don't think there's been a confirmation of what they're going to do with the future. But I kind of wanted to get, and I can talk a little bit. Obviously, it's still Metal Gear Solid. Like it's Metal Gear Solid 3. It's a shot-for-shot remake.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people, it's interesting. I had no idea, but Jeff Gerstmann apparently hates MGS3.
Oh, really?
I was listening to his podcast and he hated the game, which I respect that. Like, because Metal Gear Solids are not for everybody.
Yeah.
But I just found that
Absolutely.
interesting because usually MGS3, if Metal Gear Solids aren't your thing, MGS3 is like one of the safer bets.
Yeah.
But if you hate MGS3, then it's like, okay, you're probably going to hate the rest of them too. But I just found that interesting because Gersman was one prominent person I knew of that didn't like it. And then there were like other people that were playing it and it's like their favorite game of all time. So that diversity of opinions, I think, is fascinating with a work as complicated as MGS3. But I haven't ran into any serious like technical issues on the PS5. I've read that it gets pretty bad. I've had some frame
You read that
drops.
it gets bad by picky people.
Yeah, and that's what I have to like delineate. Like it's what I have to navigate here. Because that's the thing about because like some games like Rise of Ronin, whatever, it has a VRR variable refresh rate, and it's bad enough in some areas that it can like make me nauseous because you're going at a smooth 60 and all of a sudden it chunks down to 30 and it's like, oh God, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when you're turning the camera, like that kind of stuff can make me nauseous. But I bit the bullet. I was like, whatever, I'll just try it out and see. And so far it's been fine. I can tell when frames drop a little bit here and there, but it's not so bad or so distracting that it like detracts from the game. But it is MGS3. It's really goddamn good. I only played through MGS3 once.
That's surprising.
I know there are a few. Well, I think these are new things. So the menu is still there to change your camo.
Mm-hmm.
But if you hold up on the D-pad, there's a quick menu with just almost like a weapon wheel. Instead of a weapon wheel, it's just a list of the camos with their plus and minus numbers.
That's new. Yeah.
So you can just swap real quickly. And the game has the option for you to play either the original or the subsistence. Because when it originally, which you're going to know this more than I will, but when it originally released, the traditional third-person camera was not an option, correct?
Right, correct.
That was the subsistence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which that's a fascinating thing on its own, because the thought that a game as big as MGS3 re-releases, and we're talking the early 2000s, which means you have a whole new box, store shelves, physical copies, and it's got a brand new camera angle that changes the game quite drastically.
Yes.
The economics and the decision making there, I think, are interesting, but so I think you can play in like the original MGS3, top down camera angles, or you can do subsistence where things are relatively third person camera. Yeah, easier. Not exactly third person, but yeah. And I've been thinking of one thing I was explaining to my wife was like, it's the basic stuff in MGS Delta, because it's a shot for shot. It's still really good. So it's like when I think about how many games have sort of congealed into similar masses now, where they've lost sort of their own identities and stuff like that. I don't know. I think about like Far Cry, like how generic Far Cry is now.
Yes, yeah.
Where at one point I think Far Cry was a lot more unique and interesting, especially like Far Cry 2. And like I think maybe Resident Evil got there, maybe, where it was a little bit more of just a third person shooter. That you can confirm or deny that.
Yeah.
But with MGS Delta, it's like Metal Gear Solid 3 is an old game, but its systems and structure and level design are all still really good. So you can still make a stealth game like this.
Yes.
You can still make a really slow, really methodical stealth game like this. You don't have to have you don't have to be able to mark enemies like you do in Far Cry or whatever. I mean, you can do different things in MGS3, but like, I don't know. So that was one of the things I took away from it, was these old styles, these old structures of games. They still work today. I thought the same thing playing the RE2 remake, where it's like, yeah, this is just feels like an old school Resident Evil. And it's like, and it still works today. It doesn't feel old when you play it. If you watch a movie from the 1950s, it's like, oh, these camera angles, partially because of the technology at the time, but you're like, you can tell you're watching an old movie because of the camera angles and the way that people are acting and the way they block shots and stuff like that. It's like, it's partially because the craft hadn't evolved. So if you did a shot-for-shot remake of like Casablanca, there's going to be parts that feel old because it was just an older movie, right?
Yeah.
Where you do a shot-for-shot remake of Metal Gear Solid 3, not as old as Casablanca, but in terms of video game years, almost as old. it feels amazing. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like that's a fascinating thing about video games that I haven't like nailed down yet. But yeah, okay, I'm sorry. So let's go through. I've played all the games. My favorites 3. 4 is like a weird blur to me. 5 is probably the best gameplay, but the story and characters all were horrible. I thought they were bad. But what are our Metal Gear Solid histories? Richard, why don't you?
I played since the first one. Not necessarily when it came out, but I'm with you. The third one is my favorite. Just all around. 4 is interesting because 4 is to an extent a blur for me as well, but I remember the parts I liked about it vividly. However, you go back and think about that stuff, there is a lot of, I don't want to say reaching, but there's a lot of effort to tie everything together when there probably didn't need to be much effort. And there are some decisions that were made that were a bit silly compared to like, spoiler territory. We're going to go spoilers. Particularly, one of the biggest things that always still bothers me about 4 is the explanation of Liquid Snake, overtaking Ocelot. And the easiest thing to do was just to use the excuse that Ocelot was the son of the Sorrow and was able to just channel whatever power Sorrow had. But no, they went with this weird hypnotism route.
I completely forgot about all that.
Yeah, they went with a weird weird roundabout way to explain how he gets possessed by Liquid Snake just because of hypnotism. And it's kind of like, well, you already had it out, but you decided to go a different way with it.
Yeah.
And not also the fact that it's just, by and large, a movie. The beasts are a neat villain troop, but at the same vein, when you start hearing about their story, it's just like, let me write the most fucked up shit ever. Yeah, and it's okay,
like trauma tourism or whatever.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So
it was cool to go back to Shadow Moses because wasn't it all like overrun or whatever?
Oh my god! Which that in itself, I found out about how that works. Sorry, I'm gonna get a little nerdy.
That's
here.
Fine.
But the way that PS1 games run on a PSP is through a file called the eBoot. And essentially what they did, because compression is so good, that portion of Shadow Moses that you play is like less than 100 megabytes. So they basically just had to take a chunk of the PS1 game that was like less than 100 megabytes or like 20 megabytes or something and just convert it to an eBoot file to run on the disc. So basically that part is you're emulating...
What?
You're actually loading up Metal Gear Solid 1 and emulating into that section that part. Yeah.
Oh, that's a really neat detail.
And then it just kicks you back out when you get to what you're supposed to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because that's one of the boss fights there, right? With the lady. One of the ladies.
Yeah, that's a wolf. So whatever wolf. Yeah, crying wolf.
Yeah,
whatever.
I don't know.
But anyways, but yeah, no, that was very cool. Lots of throwbacks. It's Metal Gear Solid 4 is just the fan game for fans.
Even though a lot of fans seem to hate it, which is
and that came with time. That just came with, because when that came out, everybody was just so over the moon for Metal Gear Solid 4. And then as time goes on, it's like the cracks start to show and everything that, for better or worse. We can talk about not Metal Gear Solid 1, but like Twin Snakes, the remake.
Yeah, which I've never played.
It's just easy, like drop dead easy. Because the thing about Metal Gear Solid 1, and this is a problem because what we're talking about is what's next for Metal Gear Solid. And obviously they just remade 3 into Delta. And if they want to go back and remake another one, the main one that everybody points to is Metal Gear Solid 1. Metal Gear Solid 1 had a very specific way to play that game.
Yeah.
And a very specific style. It's kind of like you're moving a chess piece, across your levels. So once you basically said, okay, let's make it play like Metal Gear Solid 2, the game was a cakewalk because you didn't need to peek around corners anymore. You didn't need to
see a lot farther.
You see a lot of because the enemies had the cones. So it's like you could be on the other side of the room, but they wouldn't see you because so you would have to think of a whole different way to create that game.
Now, if you went if you took the first MGS and you made it third person or something, you would have to remake from ground up. I feel like it would have to be an entirely new game, because and even I think even parts of MGS2, if you did a similar thing, you would have to basically make an entire new game. Not every part, but I think certainly parts of it. Connor, what is your Metal Gear Solid history, real quick?
None.
I thought you had kind of played the games or something before. Or
no.
Oh, okay. Well, all right.
This is gonna be a me and you conversation, buddy.
feel free to chime in then. Okay, so what I don't know. What would you be interested? So I think would you be interested in a Metal Gear Solid remake?
Yeah, I would be interested in a lot of either remakes or retoolings. We've gotten plenty of remasters or re-releases, which is fine. But
yeah,
you mentioned the way Capcom is doing things is pretty much along the same lines of what we should be doing. I never felt like Resident Evil 4 should have got a remake. Like there's several other games in front of it that should have got a remake, but we got 4. Thankfully, they did a very good job with it. I'm not going to say they knocked that out of the park. Resident Evil 2, they knocked it out of the park, but Resident Evil 4, they did an excellent job, modernizing that game. Metal Gear Solid, and it's just as old as Metal Gear Solid 3. Is kind of what I'm comparing it to. So if you were to remake any others, I do think that Metal Gear Solid 1 is Metal Gear Solid 1 or one of the original Metal Gears.
Oh, okay.
Is what you would have to do.
If I could see you completely, because the original Metal Gears are not held to the same esteem that MGS1 is.
They're not, but they have some of the most vital, like lore.
Yes, they do.
Explanations to get to people, and that's what's so disheartening about Metal Gear Solid 5, because my hope for Metal Gear Solid 5 was that because the snake you play as in the game is not the real big boss.
Yeah.
That Venom snake would be the big boss you fight in Metal Gear 1 and 2.
Okay. Now, I was under the impression that the guy that you fight in Metal Gear 2 is Big Boss.
Yeah, one of them is Big Boss, but I mean, I don't know. Yes, that is important, obviously.
Yeah.
I think Metal Gear 2 would be where you do fight Big Boss. Metal Gear 1, I think you can get away
at the end, don't you?
Yeah, Metal Gear 1, I think you can get away with having Venom Snake be the big boss in that one.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 2.
If you wanted to keep that, because I think the whole idea of Venom Snake is really dumb anyway. But it's a little snake or whatever.
Yeah, it's a little extreme, but
yeah, I mean the random meta.
Once again, seeing the end of Metal Gear Solid 4 is kind of like, wow, Zero, you're still here. It is. That one's kind of like.
Was sitting there in his little chair.
Because at that point, I think he's like 120.
Yeah, he's like super old or whatever. Yeah. So Capcom's got a tougher decision to make than, Konami's got a tougher decision to make than Capcom did, because I think Capcom's Resident Evil games are easier to like transition, right? Yeah. You can remake RE2, remake RE3, remake RE4. I guess they're in a tough position, because it's like, what do you do with RE5? It's not as well loved. It's not like this classic thing. So do you do another remake? Do you, like, I don't know.
They should do another remake. There's one game, the 4th game in the series that is the actual 4th game, but it's not titled 4, is Resident Evil Code Veronica.
Yeah. And that's your favorite, right?
I like that one a lot.
Okay.
I still think 2 is my favorite. But Code Veronica hasn't received its flowers, if that makes sense, because it was exclusive to Dreamcast, which was a failed console, and its re-releases, and it was re-released on PS2, and it was good on PS2. But Resident Evil Code Veronica has, once again, critical lore in it, because Resident Evil 2, when you go to the STARS, room, and you find the diary that's like, hey, Claire, it's me, Chris. I'm over in Europe trying to figure out what's going on with Umbrella. Like, Code Veronica is Claire going to Europe to find Chris. Gotcha. So it's like a canonical, like.
Is that the continuation we see with? Oh no, because Chris goes back to the U.S. by Resident Evil 7, because we see him at the end of 7, but then he goes back to Europe at Resident Evil 8, because you play as him at the end of Resident Evil 8.
Right.
So
because in Resident Evil 5 he was in Africa.
Yeah, he's been all over the world.
Yeah, well, I mean, the BSAA gets around.
Yeah. But for Konami, what I think it's a tougher decision of what you do.
It's not only a tougher decision, but they just don't have as strong as an in-house studio.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, once again,
maybe inexperienced. Yeah.
Well, it's something it's something that you've always harped on the last 10-ish years.
They decided to stop making video games.
Yeah, stop making videos. So who is there? And so we have Silent Hill 2.
Yeah,
in my opinion, not in my opinion. I don't want to say that. Silent Hill 2 is such a on the pedestal game for at least horror games. It should have been done by Konami, but it was not. It was done by Bloober Team, which they did a great job. Really great job. But I don't know who you would need to give this to. I don't know if Konami can do it. If it's this Delta team,
Virtuos,
from everything I've heard from their interviews and whatnot, I think they can get the job done. But if you try to deviate or create your own story from Metal Gear 1 and 2 has the benefit of at least having a backbone. It doesn't have all the bits, to it. It has a backbone at least. You could probably create a story with it and get away with it.
That's the fertile ground, I think, because they're older, they're not as well remembered.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people would care as much.
Yeah.
But I think the issue you would get to is something with Metal Gear Solid 2.
1, 2, and
because
4.
MGS 2, maybe, I don't know. Well, I guess all of them at that point. They all have that pedestal essence about them, like Silent Hill 2 does, right?
Not just that, yes, but not just that. Metal Gear is one of the few franchises where its director literally is the soul of the game. Last of Us and Uncharted is Druckmann, well, at least the last couple of Uncharted was Druckmann. So, you had the guy from Dead Space go over to make Callisto Protocol.
Mm-hmm. Glenn Schofield.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't the only one who made Dead Space. It was a whole team. He wasn't the one who took charge. But because, if you like it or not, because Kojima is such a good director and he knows how to handle his team, he's been able to create these games because it's his own vision. And that's another problem that we talk about with Microsoft and Xbox. There's no good person to wrangle in all of these games that they keep releasing. So.
And I've had that discussion because personally I think that the only person, I don't know, if I had to pick one person that I'm like, Artur theory is correct with video games, it's Kojima. Other than that, I think everyone else is a little overrated in some way.
Yeah,
because Neil Druckmann was like the creator director of the first Last of Us, right? And because there's Craig Metzen, I think was his name, who was on there. And then you have to remember Amy Hennig was one of
the first 3 Uncharted.
On the first Uncharted. So their games and the DNA of the series and stuff like that. There's just so many people that contribute, and Kojima did not write all the games himself. There were other writers that wrote on Metal Gear Solid and stuff like that. So, but I think you're correct because he does. I don't know if he directed all the cutscenes and whatnot, but the cutscenes and the musical choices and all the weird stuff. It's all. I'd imagine the person I'm most comfortable saying that about is him, even if I'm still reserved a little bit.
Yeah, because there are other examples in the Metal Gear Solid series to where you could tell without him it's kind of off, and that's Metal Gear Revengeance. Rising Revengeance, and Metal Gear Acid 1 and 2.
Which I've never played, but those are PSP games, right?
They were PSP games, and they were somewhat tactical card-based games.
Oh,
which were really interesting. Your movements and actions were done by cards, so you just...
Alrighty.
And to a lesser extent, I think Portable Ops.
Okay.
I think Portable Ops wasn't specifically done by him.
The other question would be Peace Walker, because you still got Peace Walker there too, which is a whole other thing.
Peace Walker is easy. You just redo it, get rid of all the loading zones and barriers, and make it Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah.
Just keep it, because it all takes place in one country, one place. Just get rid, because it's stage based, so you just no longer choose stages and just get rid of those Monster Hunter style.
Oh, okay.
You know, Monster Hunter style has like zones and
Yes.
stuff like that.
I've only played one, but I know the zones.
Well, yeah, like you have like a big hub area. Well, also
The
Metal Gear
camp.
Solid 5. You have your camp, and then you can go
Shadow,
to
or not Shadow Mode. It's the tankers.
the big shell. But you have your one like hub area, and then from there, if you choose, you can go around the entire map.
Mm-hmm.
It's just your mission is over there. So I think Peace Walker would have probably one of the easier times getting transitioned into. Yeah.
Then the whole thing, I guess the only question would be like, what do you edit? What do you do about the story? What do you do about the characters, et cetera, et cetera? And maybe you just do what they did with 3, where they just sort of one for one, shot for shot it, and they don't edit that a whole lot. And they kept a lot of the like eye rolly stuff in MGS3 as well.
Yeah. They changed some stuff too, which
Did
I thought was in one of the like paramedic when she explains how to do certain things because it's more modernized. They re-recorded like 1 or 2 lines.
I
So.
remember. I think David Hayter mentioned that.
Yeah,
he like re-recorded a couple things here and there.
just some small things, but
yeah. Okay. Okay, is there anything else? Well, Konami, I don't know how well it's sold. I'm not sure how bad the performance stuff on the PS5 is, but if it's successful, I think cool. I think there's room. I don't know. I don't envy what decisions they're going to have to make and how, like, what do you do with MGS1? And I don't know, maybe it is as simple as why not just keep it top down, redo it shot for shot, and try to keep the budget reasonable, because I don't know, the people that are going to if you remade MGS1 as like a third person stealth game, are you going to get a bunch of people who have never played Metal Gear Solid to all of a sudden play it? Like, is that going to be a bigger market than if you just remade it top down style or whatever and brought in all the people who were excited to play it because they played the first one? And of course, the other thing, is with like updated controls and stuff like that. Like, how much what are you gonna have to redo? What voice lines? What are you gonna have to re-record and all that stuff? So, but playing through Metal Gear Solid Delta, I can already tell you that like, I miss stealth games. Like, I miss stealth games so much. Like, yeah, Ghost of Tsushima has stealth in it, but it's just not like stealth. I when I was playing through Chaos Theory, it was just like, man, I just miss this kind of gameplay. Stealth games just are not made the same. I'm sure there are stealth games out there that I just have not played, but on the AAA mass market level, whatever, it's just that kind of gameplay where it's much slower, much more methodical, much more punishing, you know? It's like, Jesus Christ, you crawl into a thing of leaves and some random KGB agent's like, what's 50 meters over there?
Yeah.
You son of a bitch, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just like, that's another weird thing. The KGB has soldiers. I thought that was interesting. I thought the KGB was like the CIA. Did they have soldiers back then? I don't know. Not that matters in Metal Gear Solid, because, you know, who the hell cares? But, yeah. Okay. Well, we'll leave that there and we'll move on. I want to talk about the story in Aftermath about Diablo devs unionizing. A really good story by Nathan Grayson. 450 workers have voted in favor of unionizing. If I remember correctly, it's across disciplines. I'll open the story real quick. I don't believe it's just like QA or any across multiple disciplines voted in favor of unionizing. Issues include stuff we've heard about: AI protections, pay, work from home, stuff like that. I wanted to read this bit here, and I don't have a whole lot to say about this, but I did want to just be mad for a second. So, again, rating from Nathan Grayson in Aftermath: disputes over pay are as old as time itself, but Blizzard employees have long been faced with a unique dilemma. Prestige often comes with a pay cut relative to what a similar skill set might command at other game studios or tech companies. When you look even just at other gaming studios, pretty much anybody you talk to, if they talk to somebody else that's in their equivalent position or maybe a title below them, their compensation is vastly different. Ryan Claudy, who helped organize Blizzard Albany's union before moving into production and sharing his knowledge with the Diablo team, told Aftermath, "We know that Microsoft and Blizzard make a lot of money. They can absolutely afford to pay us more." Claudy pointed to what he calls the passion tax. Game workers, he said, often get paid less than their tech industry counterparts because they're passionate about what they do, and passion can be taken advantage of. Microsoft is a tech company making discrepancies all the time all the more arbitrary. Okay. So I kind of wanted to talk about this because I thought that was an interesting concept, which we've heard before, the whole passion tax thing. And this is something that unionization can sort of help out. But it makes me angry because I feel like that's a really like internet comment thing to say. Well, it's like, you work in a video game and that's fun, so because your job is fun, you should be paid less. It's like, no, that's not how it works. Work is work. It doesn't matter if you're happy or what about it. You should be paid, a reasonable wage. And I think, I don't know, for whatever reason, sports popped into my head because I think in some ways, a good example of what a positive example of what a union can do is sports. Not in every way, but like sometimes I see people complaining about athletes holding out for money or something like that. And it's like, well, the guy who's holding the money is 1,000 times richer than the athlete is, right? So yeah, this athlete is 26 years old and he wants to be paid $400 million instead of $350 million. And those numbers are just nothing. Like they're so massive that they might as well be on the moon for us, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's like, he's also the entire reason that the sport exists, the entire reason that people turn on the TV, people like him. Nobody turns on the TV to watch Jerry Jones talk. Nobody gives a shit about Jerry Jones. A lot of people wish Jerry Jones would shut the hell up and pay his players, Yeah. So it's like, in a similar vein, it's just like, if these people aren't being paid, these companies, they're not taking the money and giving it to charities. They're just, I don't know. It's just sloshing back up to executives or whatever. So I don't know. If it's going to be put somewhere, it should be put to employees. And this idea that a passion tax is like an acceptable thing is just ridiculous. If you make the wheels turn, you should be paid every cent that you can get out of the machine. It doesn't matter what your job is or how much fun it is or any of that bullshit. Yeah. You're a professional, and professionals deserve to be paid regardless of anything else. So I just, because we've talked about unionization a lot, I don't know if you guys have any further thoughts on any of this, but I just wanted to say that because it just got to me a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, it's a full-on agreement. Just as Ryan Claudy said, yeah, the passion tax is just a straight up, taking advantage of your workers and the people who have these passions, and every single person who has a passion out there gets paid for it, like plain and simply. We shouldn't be using something that is perceived still to this day as childish or fun to be, used to take advantage of for the people who make those things, because it's just so simple. It's so weird. The money exists because of the people who make the things. Without them, you don't exist. So pay those people. Plain and simply.
Connor, you sound like you were about to take a breath.
Cough.
Okay. Did you have anything you wanted to say?
I'm glad that they are unionizing. This needs to be more of a widespread practice across most industries, if not all industries.
Yeah, and especially at Microsoft, because things are not good at Microsoft. I don't know if you guys have seen some of the protests at Microsoft and other stuff that's going down, but and not to mention all the layoffs. But I don't know, Microsoft needs to get its shit together, put it in a backpack, and get all its shit together. Okay, moving on here. So this story, another Jason Schreier story, was last week, but we didn't get to it. So I wanted to talk about it this week. Take-Two has laid off about a third of Cloud Chamber staff, which comes out to a little bit more than 80 jobs. If you remember, a couple weeks ago, we talked about BioShock 4's development being tumultuous, and there was leadership changes at Cloud Chamber, and they were delaying the game. And we weren't sure what was going to happen layoff-wise, so this is the result. BioShock has been delayed to 2027 from a planned 2026 release, which that was surprising considering what we previously learned. 2K announced it was bringing in Rod Ferguson, formerly of Blizzard and Irrational Games back in the day, to help get BioShock 4 on the right path. I'm going to read a chunk of Schreier's story here because it's full of details and I think it's really interesting for a lot of different reasons. Here we go. Plans started in 2014, a year after 2K released BioShock Infinite, the third entry in the series, from Boston-based developer Irrational Games. Director Ken Levine decided to leave and start a smaller studio within Take-Two, leading 2K to shutter Irrational and lay off its staff. But executives at 2K knew they wanted to keep the popular franchise going and began hunting for a developer to work on a new title. They landed on Certain Affinity, an independent company in Austin best known for doing co-development work on big shooter franchises such as Halo and Call of Duty. They also brought in veteran writer Corey May to lead the game's narrative. Certain Affinity worked on the game, which was codenamed Parkside, for roughly 2 years, but ran into some difficulties. Executives at 2K, eager to take more control of development, began negotiating a deal to purchase Certain Affinity. The acquisition fell through at the finish line, and at the end of 2016, Take-Two instead decided to start its own in-house studio to lead development on the game. Okay, so one thing I wanted to talk about right there is questions always linger in my mind. Like, what does this mean? What executives and why did they make that decision? And are they still working in video games? Because if so, all they did was derail a franchise. And then when things went bad, clap the dust off their hands and well, nothing to see here, folks.
For me, that whole section that you read just really screams sunken cost fallacy, like, to me, because I have a very hard time believing. We talked a little bit about this a couple of weeks ago. I really enjoy the BioShock series. I think it's a great series. I don't think it's worth going through almost now 10 years of on and off development for a game that I am certain will not receive the amount of money they probably want this game to make.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I know what you mean.
And within that 10 years, this is where it's a half a problem of the suits and half problem of maybe the directors and studios. But within that 10 years that they have been working on this game, how many more franchises could they have maybe launched and maybe got a hit out of,
That's a really good point.
At least 3 or 4, at least 2, but maybe 3, 4, if they were smart. And so it's just, I'm kind of puzzled by the fact that they're just trying so hard to get another BioShock off the ground. It may be ripe with ideas and stories, but it really needs to be a home run if they want to. That's the second baseball analogy I've used today. It really needs to be a hit for it to be worthwhile, and right now it just doesn't sound like it's worthwhile.
And I'll keep reading, but I don't know. I hate every time I read about stuff like this now. I hate that I'm like, oh, it's like Dragon Age Velgar, but I mean, like, I don't know. It kind of is in some ways. Anyway, we'll keep reading. In 2017, a small group of leaders at 2K began hiring for what would become Cloud Chamber. They brought over May and recruited several BioShock veterans, including art director Scott Sinclair, design director Jonathan Pelling, and creative director Hogarth de la Plante. They brought forward some ideas from the previous project, such as the setting and time period. For this new game, the team also took inspiration from so-called immersive sims, such as 2017's Prey, which give players multiple possible solutions to each obstacle. Over the next few years, Cloud Chamber tried to simultaneously build a studio and a game, which was a lofty challenge. The team eventually put together a vertical slice, or a demo of the game that would allow executives to gauge their progress, and the results were impressive. There was just one big problem. It was developed in Unreal Engine 4, an older iteration of Epic Games' technology platform, which might make the game feel dated when it inevitably released. Cloud Chamber decided to switch to the more modern Unreal Engine 5, which required a significant overhaul and likely several years to the timeline. That is a decision that I get, but at the same time, I don't know. I would have loved to seen, like, the only way to know is to have seen this BioShock game, this BioShock, vertical slice that was made in UE4. Because I don't know, with UE5 right now, it's not like things are incredible. So, I mean,
From what I understand, yeah.
I mean, every time a game comes out, it's like, oh, this game's like crap. It's like, okay, so I mean, what's the big deal with UE5 then? I don't know. So if we're talking like 5 years ago, if this game, if things started in like 2017, or if it was developed around the end of the 2010s and the release date was slated for like the early 2020s, I think, I don't know, it feels like you probably could have gotten away with making a game in UE4. I don't think it would have been that big of an issue.
It wouldn't have.
All right, would it have felt dated? To me, that's weird because I never feel like engines make things feel dated. I don't know. Like, engines make things feel old. You know, I remember everybody complaining about the creation engine with Fallout 4. But, like, it doesn't make me feel dated. Dated is, I don't know, that's just really broad, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like Space Marine 2 in some ways felt dated, but Space Marine 2 I think was Unreal Engine 5.
I mean, I just think that's the feel of the game.
Yeah, exactly. It's just how the game was made. So it has nothing to do with the engine. It just has to do with the way the game was made.
And there was the tidbit I had that Helldivers 2 was made on an engine that was used for the 3DS, you know? And so
I forgot about that.
So it's just what people know how to work with. Like, there's too many examples. The PS3 was another example. PS3 is extremely difficult to develop for, but when you were able to, you created really incredible things, you know, and obviously anything that came from Naughty Dog is a great example. But even Ready at Dawn with Order 1886, you know, launch a year, you know, after the game or PS4 came out, you know, game is still stunning in a lot of respects to this day. So
I think engines are one of those things that nerds like to talk about because it's a layer of technicality that can make you sound smart, and because the tool suite behind the game. But at the end of the day, I don't know, if it's a good game, it's a good game. Does it really matter what engine it's in or anything like that? To me, it's not as important.
Yeah, what engine does Nintendo use?
Yeah, they use the Nintendo. Yeah, nobody. Is it out there? Have they ever given it a name or anything like that?
They don't like to give out that information.
I know.
A lot of times, but
they barely want you to play their games.
But even then, like, come on, like whatever engine that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom runs on, it's like magic. You know?
Yeah, and also it's one of those things where it's like proprietary and probably made like specifically for the Switch or whatever.
Probably.
So I don't know, but that's the thing, is there's so many. It's like an engine is a massive swath of technology. You are describing so many things, right?
What engine do I want to bring back? Hold on, there's an engine that I want to bring back. You can keep talking. Source. Source was no. It was
Source is full of.
It wasn't Source.
Nostalgic things for me, like the little squeak when you're walking around on tile. Anyway, sorry.
While he's looking that up, Space Marine 2 was on the Swarm engine.
Okay, I apologize. On the Swarm engine. Well, it looked great. So again, doesn't matter how the game played cool, felt like a 360 game. Nobody gave a shit what engine it was on. So it's like, I don't know, does it really matter? If you make a good game, you make a good game. But at the same time, I don't want to sit here because these developers, they have pressure on them. They have to make sales targets and stuff like that. So these decisions they have to make, and so I'm not going to sit here and say, you idiots, you should have just done this, because I'm sure they were doing they made a good faith decision the best that they could. Executives that are like looking down at them and, you know, getting off their yacht and playing their little game and going like, oh yeah, I like this. I have less sympathy for them, but you snapped your fingers.
It's a combination of 3 engines.
Okay.
The Havoc engine, the
Nice.
DMM engine, and the Euphoria engine.
Okay.
Which were the 3 engines used in Star Wars The Force Unleashed.
Oh, nice.
For its destruction, movement of things,
Okay.
and the reactions of characters to those things happening.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
Havoc isn't Havoc like also a middleware or something?
Havoc was used a lot in the 360 PS3 era.
Yeah, it's because because it's not like because Havoc is also like a I don't know. It's also like a I don't fucking know. Anyway, we're gonna keep reading.
He's an X-Men.
The team produced a second vertical slice several years later that received glowing feedback from 2K executives, but behind the scenes, the game was facing problems. Many were typical to big budget game development, technical issues, and a lack of clear vision for the final product. Over the past year, the team quickly expanded before it had some basic production pipelines in place, according to people. Several leaders, including May and Sinclair, departed along the way. Perhaps the biggest issue was the pressure of making a new entry in a critically beloved franchise. The first BioShock is widely considered to be one of the greatest games of all time, thanks to its dystopian story and melancholic atmosphere. And subsequent levels have also been lauded for their narrative ambitions. Subsequent sequels have also been lauded for their narrative ambitions. Internal reviews of the new BioShock earlier this year pegged it as fine, but not as exceptional, and identified narrative issues which led to the leadership change. Right now, we have a good game, but we are committed to delivering a great one, a 2K spokesperson said in a statement to Bloomberg. Now, after the mass layoffs at Cloud Chamber, questions linger about what comes next. Stun workers said in conversations with Bloomberg that they feel like they are getting the blame for poor decisions made above their heads. And yeah, and that's the end of the what I was going to what I'm taking from Schreier here. Yeah, that's kind of what it sounds like. Moving to a new engine, executives making certain decisions, people leaving. I don't know. It just feels like something where people are left a twist in the wind and then they get laid off, and here we go. Mm-hmm. And also, 2K, do you really need to lay these people off? Because in 8 months, you're going to get a massive cash infusion. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's like, and how much is it going to cover is that cash infusion going to cover the budget of the cash infusion, GTA 6? Hopefully, I don't know. We'll have to see. But I don't know, man. Is the situation really so dire that you needed to lay off people? That's something that always always makes me question things. And also the pressure. I do feel bad about that because we've talked about this. I don't know. You shouldn't feel pressure because you're not gonna. It's BioShock. I don't know. Because yeah, the first BioShock game was amazing. But in some ways, yeah, if it came out and it wasn't very good, it would be I'm sure there would be lots of corners of the internet that were very obnoxious and annoying about it. So it's yeah, you feel pressure about that. And also you just feel pressure because, you know people in the games industry. And so you're like, oh, I worked on the new BioShock game and everybody loves BioShock. But at the same time, I think we had this discussion, this honest, well, what is BioShock really? And it's it's one amazing game. The second one I thought was pretty good. BioShock Infinite was good, but it was the story was so-so, and I don't remember how it ended. It ends in such a way that leaves that.
You got to play the DLCs. The DLCs tie everything together, apparently.
But
BioShock Infinite, just like BioShock 2, is everything clicks and excels the game after playing the DLCs.
Really? I never played any of the DLCs.
Minerva's Den is constantly pointed at as just as good as the original BioShock, but I actually never played and beat it. And then I played the first episode for the BioShock Infinite DLC, but I didn't play the second episode, which is where it all comes together.
Okay.
So.
But Infinite, I don't remember Infinite being something that everybody lauded and loved. In fact, Infinite, I remember being one of the first games that a lot of people didn't like.
This is the performances that were really good.
Oh, because Troy Baker and I forget who played What's Your Face.
Yeah.
But in any case. Yeah, so all of that's too bad, and yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't have too much else to say. I feel I don't know. I don't mean to be dismissive, but I do feel it sounds like they had the formula, they were making an immersive sim and they were doing it in the Bing Crosby 1950s. Mm-hmm. So it's okay, you're set. Those are the foundational elements. Go from there. It's incredibly difficult to make that, sure. But I feel like you got your foundational elements down. What else do you need to do? I don't know. It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot more that needs to be done.
Yeah. And so as much as I've already made my opinion on not being on board for another BioShock, I do think that is a very good way to go about it, making it a somewhat immersive sim game like 2016's Prey, or even if you want to go slightly further, you can make it more like BioShock and turn it into a survival, a little bit scavenging
more horror
game, because that's the whole point of Rapture. You're trapped down there. You can't exactly leave with all of these, you know, I forgot what they were called actually.
Spicers, one of those.
Spicers, yeah. So, anyways,
I was gonna say, you know, the immersive sim genre is interesting because it's the worst titled genre in the history of video games, but also like I feel like it. Okay, because you have the games that we would firmly describe as immersive sims, like Prey, Dishonored. Maybe you'd want to say Hitman is an immersive sim.
Is Dishonored an immersive sim?
Yeah, I'd say Dishonored. Well, Dishonored 1 definitely was. I would say 100%.
I need to play Dishonored 1. I only played Dishonored 2.
Okay, I never played Dishonored 2 either.
Dishonored 2 is really fucking good.
But the first Dishonored, is 100% an immersive sim.
I mean, I did play Dishonored 1 for a bit, but I got to go back to it.
Okay.
Dishonored 2 is so good.
Anyways. Yeah, and then System Shock, which they did the remake and the remaster, so those aren't new. But also, like, there are portions of Cyberpunk where it's like immersive simmy, right? You can fight through the enemies, or you can use your hacking skills to open the door. Like that's now.
Oh, like greater choices. Okay.
Yeah.
Like Deus Ex is another one.
Oh, Deus Ex, that would be another one I would describe as an immersive sim. So immersive sim is a genre that is like very broad, and I think lots of games touch on immersive sim territory without totally diving in.
Yeah.
Because like Cyberpunk is a lot of things. It's also a driving game. It's also an action. It's an action RPG, right? Yeah. But it's like it has those elements that you would find in an immersive sim. So yeah. The point I was making was that I feel like it's a genre that you do a lot with, even though you could do a lot with it, even though we all have an idea of what it is. So it's both very broad and very specific. If that makes makes sense.
No, that does make sense because like Dishonored and Deus Ex particularly, I like 100% am like, yeah, sure. After having this discussion, yeah, sure, they're immersive sims, cool. But first and foremost, I was like, oh, they're stealth games. Like, they're just stealth games, you know.
Yeah, stealth. Stealth would always be like an element of an immersive sim.
Right. For me though, it's just like, no, they're just stealth, you know. But figuring out what to do, going like several ways to go about it, you know, it's definitely immersive. So.
And like a game like Chaos Theory.
No, that's dumb.
Like I would say Chaos Theory is a stealth game that maybe has like that sort of flirts with immersive sim, because you can go over here and unlock the door, or you can go over here and climb through the window, but everything is stealth. And yeah, you can take a gun and shoot people, but then it's going to be harder. You're going to get alarms. So there's options.
Not beneficial too, yeah.
But it's not like you can. It's a stealth game first with other things you can do. I feel like that's far enough away that it's more of a stealth game than an immersive sim. Just to have this conversation. Do we have tidbits?
I got a couple.
Yay! Here we go. What if I told you, in this world, there are bits and there are tids, and Richard is the only man who can put them together into tidbits.
Can you turn that audio for me next time? It was a little loud.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Nintendo Switch 2 game keycards are not eligible for preservation by Japan's National Diet Library, officials say. The National Diet Library is one of the largest libraries in the world, and it's also Japan's only legal deposit library, meaning that it mandates domestic publishers to submit copies of all new publications for collection and preservation purposes. When asked about the Switch 2 game keycards, the NDL representatives say that only physical media, quote, only physical media that contains the content itself is considered eligible for preservation. Since a keycard on its own does not qualify as content, it falls outside the scope of collection and preservation. Yeah.
Man, I don't know. It's just because the whole keycard. This whole thing has just made me just demoralized when it comes. This whole situation is just untenable when it comes to like all this, like the whole thing with game key cards and not having the games on them and their file size and the economics behind. Do you even do a physical copy with the fact that the Switch has like the most robust physical library of any console. Any modern console, maybe. Like,
yes.
So that's too bad. One of the calculations you have to make now, if you have a Switch 2, right? The calculations that you make if you want to buy a game for it I think are now more difficult because there are games that it's going to run at closer to modern to the other like more powerful consoles, right?
Yeah.
So as opposed to like in the previous generation when you could get Doom for the Switch, but it's going to be running at 30 FPS. It's not going to look anywhere near as good on the PS4. And then it's like, okay, I'll skip on it. Now that conversation's a little bit different. So now people's like the calculus and what games they buy on what system is a little bit different. And you would hope that the physical aspect of that gets taken into consideration as well, right? So let's say a game comes out and it runs really good on the Switch 2 and it runs really good on the PS5. And you're like, okay, but which one do I want to buy? Well, PS5 I can't find PS5 copies anywhere. Oh, but Switch 2 copies are all over the place. Mm-hmm. Like, well, there's your answer. But I don't know. So, but you know my thoughts on preservation.
Oh yeah.
Everything. The minute a game should
throw it all away.
The minute a game comes out, it should be preserved. It should be copied and distributed on the internet for free the instant it's available for purchase.
You thief. What is it? Oh my god, Digital Eclipse. Digital Eclipse is awesome, and I'm kind of glad that they are doing this Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection, because a large majority of people who don't know about them are now becoming knowledgeable about what they do. For better or worse. I'll explain in a bit. But Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection is adding a special version of one of the Mortal Kombat titles, which in of itself was technically lost media in a way. The WaveNet version of Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 was an arcade version that could be played online at the arcades, and it was only tested out in Chicago and San Francisco, but was ditched and replaced with Golden Tee, golf game. Very good golf game, actually. The WaveNet version of Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 is the only version of the game that featured the character Noob Saibot, who would be unlocked via combat code. But yeah, when this got announced, everybody was kind of talking about how they fully expected the Legacy Collection that Digital Eclipse is doing to be like super bare bones. It's kind of like, no, you guys don't know these guys. They're definitely not doing bare bones stuff, so... Of course, there's a lot of people out there who are mad that they're not getting like the 3D PS2 titles and whatnot, but it's like, come on, man. This is kind of focusing on a specific era or whatnot. But yeah.
I you know what? I don't care about people being mad.
I don't care about people either.
When someone's mad, I say, what are you mad about? And 1 second after say, I'm mad about...
my steak is too juicy and my lobster's too buttery.
Right after they say, I'm mad about this, I make a decision. Is that worth listening to you about? And usually it's just like, no, it's not. No. Okay, I'm sorry. Like Digital Eclipse, the work that they've done, the docu game things that are really unique and interesting. I still want to play Karateka. Is that how you pronounce it?
Karateka.
Karateka. Like I still need to go back and play that because it's this influential game that one of those games that's like super influential, but you may not have ever heard of it. So yeah, I don't know. People angry because you know what? There's a new Mortal Kombat every 20 seconds. You can rip someone's skull out. So just go do that. Okay. You know, and there's a new movie and it's going to be terrible, but you know, it's Mortal Kombat. So whatever. So, which by the way, I cannot picture, what's Carl Urban as what's his face?
He was the wrong choice in my opinion.
I
love him. He's great, but he was the wrong choice for.
Like I feel like Carl Urban is a great actor and he has a lot of range. I feel like he was great as Dr. McCoy in the Star Trek movies.
Dredd. He was great.
And then
Dredd.
He has like the action. Like he can do I think he'd be a good like RoboCop if they ever did that or whatever. But for whatever reason, just Johnny Cage is like I don't know if he works as like a Johnny Cage type character. I don't know.
Not for me. But yeah, hey, he's doing it. But last tidbit here, and this is a cool one. Any Xbox 360 can now be hacked in less than a minute.
This is cool.
And this is great because the 360 has been notoriously difficult to hack because Microsoft was on top of it, and they basically had a very difficult way to get around that like doing that. But there was a method to where you would use a trial version of Rock Band Blitz to basically hack the system, like do a workaround to get into the file. But originally this method was like 40% successful and would take like 40 minutes each time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So like if you didn't get it the first time, you'd have to wait another 40 minutes for it to do it. An update came out about 2 weeks ago that can now be done with a USB stick. The same method with Rock Band, but now it is 80% successful and can be done in around 30 to 40 seconds.
Okay.
So if you were to do this exploit, you'd be able to mod and hack your 360 and just throw games on it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And yeah, and you're done. And so that's awesome for, preservation.
Yeah.
And obviously theft, but
where are we on the 360 emulation front?
doing all right.
Doing okay.
Doing all right. Yeah, I mean, not everything's perfect, but it's weird because 360 PS3, you get to the era that's the era where games started to appear on PC as well. So it's kind of like just get it on PC, and there's probably mods to fix whatever issues there were.
I guess that's true.
Because that era was still PC ports were still not great, but a lot of people by now have fixed those issues.
Okay, cool. Well, it's another reason to buy another 360, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Get that sucker. Play some Crimson Skies was Xbox. What's an early 360? Play some
Burnout Revenge, Peter Jackson's King Kong.
Yeah, play some Perfect Dark Zero. What's the fucking game called? Why can't I think of it? Perfect Dark Zero?
Yeah, Perfect Dark Zero. Yeah.
What am I thinking of?
Need for Speed Most Wanted, Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter.
Which I've always wanted to play.
Need for Speed Most Wanted.
But what am I thinking of? It's just Perfect Dark. Why did I call it Perfect Dark? I'm thinking
that's Perfect Dark Zero.
Yeah, there's Perfect Dark and Perfect Dark Zero.
Oh,
Perfect Dark came out in 2000.
Cameo, Elements of Power.
Yeah, you could go on all day, couldn't you?
I probably could for that. Or Viva
Madden 06.
Banjo Kazooie.
Sneak King, baby.
Sneak King, yeah. Pocket Bike Racer.
All right. Follow us, youtube.com/gaming discourse, patreon.com/the gaming discourse. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.